Oh, how you doing, Mr. DJ? Looking over my notes for this next song I want to talk to you about, coming in at number... Whoa! Taking a big jump on my fancy playlist from number 44 to 29. Starship. It's not over till it's over. Incarnation of Jefferson Airplane back in the 60s, and then there was the Jefferson Starship in the 70s, and now from 1984 on, probably the most successful version of Starship, period, the group Starship, and big hits. Well, let's talk about that big album, Knee Deep in the Hoopla. Came out in 1985. We Built This City came off that album. Fall of 1985. Bernie Taupin, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, Bernie Taupin, co-wrote that song. He wrote the lyrics to many of Elton John's brilliant records back in the 70s, including Rocket Man, Levon, Tiny Dancer, Honky Chateau, Honky Cat. And then we had Sarah that came after that. That was in late 85, early 86. Tomorrow Doesn't Matter Tonight from 1986, a minor hit. And the second album under the Starship moniker, No Protection. First hit record off that album, 1987. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, written by the legendary Diane Warren. Diane Warren, one of the most prolific songwriters in the 80s and 90s. She wrote hits for DeBarge, oh gosh, Rhythm of the Night. She wrote hit records for Celine Dion in the 90s, and got a list of her songs in a book that I got in my rock and roll library. But just she was prolific. Albert Hammond, the guy who did It Never Rains in Southern California, also co-wrote that song. And now It's Not Over Till It's Over, which I believe was the second single off the album. Guess who produced this album? Well, actually, the album No Protection was produced by Peter Wolf, formerly of Jay Giles Band, Keith Olsen, and also a guy named Narada Michael Walden. He was a big producer back in the 80s. He remixed Duran Duran's Reflex. Put that da 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 reflex. He did that. And but he produced the song that he produced was Nothing Gonna Stop Us Now. Keith Olsen produced this record. It's Not Over Till It's Over. Keith Olsen. Gosh, the research will take you down different roads. It will take you down the roads that you didn't think you were going to go down. Keith Olsen was the bass player with the Music Machine. Remember their hard rock, punk rock, classic Talk Talk back in late 66, early 67. Well, later he became a producer. As a matter of fact, he produced a lot of groups in the 70s and 80s. But one thing I want to mention about Keith Olsen, he discovered Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. They became the duo Buckingham. Was it Nick Buckingham Nicks? They put out an album. One album was just Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks in 1973. He got them a record deal. Keith Olsen did. As a matter of fact, Stevie Nicks was even hired as a housekeeper for Keith Olsen. Keith Olsen's housekeeper at one time. You gotta have a day job before you get big. Stevie Nicks. Keith Olsen introduced Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks to Mick Fleetwood, and Keith Olsen produced Fleetwood Mac's 10th album, which was just called Fleetwood Mac. Some people call it the White Album. This was the first album of the first Fleetwood Mac album that featured Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, Over My Head, and Rhiannon on this album. This was after Bob Welch had left Fleetwood Mac. He left Fleetwood Mac in 1974, Bob Welch did, and was replaced by Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. Oh boy, we got way off topic here. Going from Jefferson Starship to Buckingham Nicks. All right, here's Starship at number 29 with It's Not Over Till It's Over.